what we do, this is actually a little bit of a thing of us comparing ourselves to other people, right? Saying, do I have the right makeup on? Am I wearing the right clothes? Am I using the right languaging? Am I being embraced and enveloped into this social crowd over here, or am I being pushed away because I'm an outsider, or I don't fit in?
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Oh, go, 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 go. Woo-hoo-hoo. That's how it goes. Woo-hoo-hoo. Welcome to Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Debz and Moira. Is that my telephone voice?
That's hello, this is Deborah speaking.
Oh, God, imagine it. Imagine it. Oh, well, that's actually a perfect way to start what we're talking about today, aren't we?
Yes, it is, actually.
Oh, yes. Well, welcome, everybody. As I can feel my butt clenching as I talk, and that's even just way going to be way uncomfortable as I do a 40-minute podcast. So let's just forget that. Okay, so welcome, everybody, to
just take a nice deep breath.
Deborah's already talked about her butt, and we're not even a minute in. Yay! So, but first, what I'm going to talk about is rating ourselves. We'll just get that one out of the way. So now rating, R-A-T-I-N-G, is a way of saying where are we emotionally? And when I talk about where are we emotionally, where are you inside your head right now? 0 being neutral, balanced, centered, breathing naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just okay.
Mm-hmm.
and I changed my voice to okay, being okay.
All is well.
And then, yes, and then 10, which is a number between 9 and 11, for those who don't know my accent, 10 is chaotic. Absolutely chaotic and just completely frazzled, like you've put your finger in a socket and that's what's happening to you. That would be a description, and we've all been there before. You might be there now. So I'm going to ask the listeners to rate yourself, write that number down of where you're at, and I trust and have faith that our podcast is going to take you to a different number.
Hopefully a lower one.
We're aiming for the 0, but it has been known to go the other way. Usually when I talk about that, I'm the one who actually goes backwards. So I'm not going to say that it's okay, but I'm going to say the number where we're at. So, Moira, what would you be on the topic? What number would you be on the topic? And then what number would you be on where you are emotionally right now?
Good question. I am going to say that I'm a 3 on the topic because I believe there's things in there for me. But for me right now, I'm talking to my bestie. I'm feeling pretty good. So I would say I'm actually at 0 within me. So that's where I'm sitting.
Yay, a 0 and a 3. And so I would say, talking to you, I'm at a 0. But I'm also actually going to say, I don't really know how to number this because how to deal with what we're talking about today, the topic. I'm excited about it.
I'm looking forward to it too.
I guess excitement is not a 0. Is excitement a 0 or is that it's anticipation? Yes, so that's not a 0.
Not a
So,
0. But it's not that high up either.
no, I'm going to say a 1 because I'm really looking forward to digging in today's topic. And I put lipstick on. So because that makes a big difference when we do a podcast. I'm going to say a 1 at that on the topic because I am excited about it, and I'm going to say a 0 in where I am because even though there's a little bit of chaos going on in my world, I feel just 15 minutes ago there was a little bit of chaos, and now I've actually just gone complete trust that all is in order. So yeah,
very good, very good.
Yeah,
awesome.
So the topic. Do you want me to tell you the topic?
Yeah, tell us the topic. What's the topic? Because we know that nobody knows what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, that's right. As I take my earrings out of my ears, we are going to talk about how to deal with image perception. Ooh. So, how to deal with image perception. So, this is going to go down the rabbit hole.
Yes, we are.
Lots we're going to talk about here. So, we're going to share our own stories of where we've been judged, criticized, praised, but also how to get yourself out of any situation internally and physically for how to deal with image perception. As I'm now going to bat it and throw it to Moira to start.
Bonk.
Catch that puppy.
So I think, I actually really love this area because I've often felt that this idea of feeling judged, whether it's me or somebody telling me that they feel judged by their image or their persona or their filter or how they're showing up, is that what we do, this is actually a little bit of a thing of us comparing ourselves to other people, right? Saying, do I have the right makeup on? Am I wearing the right clothes? Am I using the right languaging? Am I being embraced and enveloped into this social crowd over here, or am I being pushed away because I'm an outsider or I don't fit in? And for me, where I'm coming from, to just share with our listeners who have not physically met me, I'm 6 foot tall. And I stopped growing when I was 12 years old. It ain't fun being that height at 12 years old, where everybody, including your teachers, are smaller than you. And so therefore, as a teenager, from 12 onwards, all I wanted to do, my image, it didn't fit in. It did not fit in. And I just so desperately wanted to. And so I carried that for such a long time. In fact, to the point, I remember going out with a bunch of colleagues at a work placement, and we were clubbing, and this lovely girl that I was working with came over to me and she says, Moira, you're such a beautiful person. How come you don't stand up straight? And it was a really good piece to make me awaken up to the fact that I actually had a stoop. I rounded my shoulders because subconsciously
you would.
Yeah, no. I wanted to come down to the level of all these people around me. And so it impacted my own physical body. That actually took probably about 3 or 4 years to correct my posture because of that perception and the ridicule. And you can imagine kids at school are not always the friendliest, especially when there's somebody that's really different.
Yeah.
And so I love telling that story, and I am very, very grateful. Yes. But I'm very grateful for it too, because it has helped me not concern myself about what you think about my image, because I'm just going to be me. And if people don't like it, and I know there's people don't like my image or how I am or my way of being, it's okay. I'm not here to please everybody. But I think that people that get really overly caught up by that idea of their image and how are they being perceived, that they've forgotten to just sit with who are they truly at the core.
See, just as you were talking, I went back to my schooling, but I just want to jump into social media is actually a thing. Because who are they? When you said who are they're calling, social media, people, not everyone, not celebrities, influencers, I'm going to say influencers, they have to be a certain way in their mind to get people to give them free product, promote them, to get more likes, to get more followers or anything. And you often hear 4, 5, 6 years later how their life has been, quote, destroyed because of, they had to stay a size 6. Yeah. And now they're a size 10 and their world's over and they've lost their certain followers because of who they were as a size 6, that people only follow them because they were a size 6. I'm not going to say celebrities, I'm actually going to say influencers, because a lot of celebrities I find are speaking up more and being more transparent.
Yes.
I guess that could be the actors and the actresses and the musicians, because you'll either like their music or you won't. You'll either like what they do. Whereas an influencer, I think, is a different, very stiff and very one-sided perception of what they're putting out there.
And like you're saying, they're fitting themselves into this box of that image in order to, like you say, in order to get the product or get the recognition or get the brand ambassadors, right? They call that.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when they called that out, I was like, okay, that's a new way of saying it. Yeah. If you really got to know those people, I've worked with people like that, and they are incredibly unhappy in their world because they're having to do. They're a trained seal. They're a trained dolphin in the zoo. They're trained, and they have to do things their way. I know people who have to do it. Can't change their hair color if they're an actor or an actress. They can't do certain things. They're definitely confined and not being, normal, not being able to do something. And I just actually want to acknowledge 2020, and I'm going to say the 2020 COVID and the masks, because I read just recently Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman, who are Australian, and they're actually currently in Australia, and they took their 2 girls to an outdoor festival.
Okay.
And they had a cap on, a hat, and glasses and their mask, and nobody recognized them.
That's awesome.
And the beautiful thing about that is, because of, wearing the masks, is nobody actually had an idea who they were, and they got to go and experience a festival, an outdoor festival, where their kids could go with their mum and dad and love it and
beautiful
appreciate it.
Story. But isn't that cool? That I think that the whole thing about wearing masks was a really cool thing, because what the word that comes to mind with that is anonymity, right? Because it just made them the same as everybody else, made all of us the same as everybody else. But then the other part too is I really noticed that with not getting too caught up in image, mind you, I would wear quirky, fun, purple masks.
No, that's not like you.
Nope. But then it was the realness of an exchange, right? Looking at people in their eye and smiling with your eyes. This is very important. Relating and getting out of your head about judging, what is my image? What is this person thinking about me? It's like, no.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. And it's look, the eyes, like the eyes are the kitchen. Sorry, the eyes are the way to the soul.
That's
which
right.
is like
the windows to the soul.
That's right. Which is like the kitchen, and the kitchen is the gathering of a party. Like everybody just seems to hang out in the kitchen.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what it's like. but being able to express yourself and not have that judgment, like I just think that must have been amazing for them to be able to just go.
Oh, I know. That
And
must have been incredible for them and their kids.
so they would have experienced it as younger children until they became more famous.
Mhm.
And now, so they've experienced and they've told their kids about back in the day we could do, you know, and we can't now. And then being able to do that, like you wouldn't, like they didn't even do a disguise. They just had a hat and glasses on, which you wear to a festival anyway.
Right.
But to have a mask and nobody knew who they were.
were.
Like, yeah, and I love that they could do that. And that's a real grounding person. That's a real grounding person for somebody who can experience that. And, you know, when I think about that of how to deal with an image perception,
Mhm.
there is no image perception there. They're just being. And
Yeah.
they're just being.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. But it's they're just being, but they're also stepping out of the other part of this image perception is judgment, right? So you're talking about celebrities, but then I was thinking about like maybe people with tattoos or people who wear a certain type of clothing, like you know, I don't know, jeggings or
Oh yeah, well, as soon as you said a certain type of clothing, I went to the goth people who wear all the black and the dark makeup.
right.
And recently I watched this thing on TV, and so they have pin-up girls, P-I-N-up girls, and they wear the cute little, it's like 1950s or 1960s rock and roll, and they, you know, and there's one girl who's best friends, and her friend is a goth. I don't know if I'm saying this right, goth. And they just wear dark makeup, dark hair, like black, jet black, everything's black and heavy clothes. And she said, I'm going, and it was a 2 series and I only watched one of it. And I think it was on the internet, and it was just her, the pin-up girl, changing her friend into the pin-up who was the goth.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to watch this. And then they were going to do it the other way around. I never saw the second one. But the goth, or the girl, I'm just going to label her, the woman who wore black, loved it. Loved it. And she had been one since a teenager, and she had children and her husband, and he couldn't believe, because he had only ever seen her wearing all the black.
Right.
And to see her change, he was just like, whoa, I've got a whole new person who sounds and is the same energy,
yeah,
but so different. And she had color, and she had red lipstick, and like, I mean, she wore makeup different, but he was just couldn't believe how much she'd changed. But he said it's the same person, but then at the very, very end, he said it's not the same person because she has more spark in her energy and more flow when she's going out. So it was quite an interesting one to, in my mind, to go into the mindset and go, gosh, has she analyzed herself enough that she's put herself into a category that she has to play that image and go out and be heavy and be staunch and nothing is going to get to me. But actually, the moment she put color on, she had a spark and she looked very different.
That's a really interesting point, because to me, I think if it's being done with awareness and choice, then it's okay. Like awareness and choice and alignment with who you are. So where I'm coming from about that is we were just talking about you've got lipstick on and you had earrings on. So the lipstick and the earrings, to me, that puts me in a different vibration than if I had bedhead and didn't have my glasses on and had no lipstick on.
Well, if you had no glasses, you couldn't see me anyway.
That's right. I
Just
couldn't.
get clear on it. And if I put lipstick on at night, you're still able to see me. But yeah, okay.
But do you see what I'm saying? It's like I'm making that choice for me. Whereas what I'm encouraging people to really watch their inner mindset, their inner dialogue. Are you doing it because it makes you feel good about yourself and it makes you feel like I'm putting on this bodysuit in order to play in this arena, as opposed to I'm doing this because I'll be judged by other people or I'll be thought less than or poorly of if I don't. That's the key piece, right?
Yeah, see, I love lipstick. I love lipstick, and I put lipstick on, and I've got lots of bright red lipsticks that I love wearing. But I also know growing up, I was told to always moisturize my lips, stop you from getting sunburn or stop you from getting, so in my mind, I'm not only putting it on for me, but I'm also putting it on to heal my body and to stop the sun getting in. And, and where was I? Somewhere the other day. And I was getting my lipstick. I said, can you pass me a lipstick out of my, that's right. I was sitting at the dine-in takeaway. What do you call it? The drive-through. And I was like, oh, can you pass me my lipstick, please? And I'll put my lipstick on. And the back seat passenger was like, are you going to impress the person at the checkout? And I'm like, no, I just want to put some lipstick on to moisten my lips because I haven't put anything on. And they're like, but it's like you're impressing. I said, it's my bright red one. And they're like, are you sure you're not there to impress? And I was like, and it was really interesting because the association from her was, it's to impress somebody in the bright red lipstick. Whereas me, I'm like, no, I haven't put any on for a bit. I can feel them, they're a bit dry. I have no lip moisturizer in the car. It's in my handbag. And so it's just interesting to have that two very different perceptions. And I was really like, no, it's not to impress. And I was very clear on that because I was left with, God, that's not my story. My story is to moisturize my lips.
Looking after my lips. Yeah.
And I have to giggle because right in front of me, I've got my Elizabeth Arden number 8 lip protector, which is one of the best things out. I rave about. But yeah, it was interesting to have my story versus her story, and they were worlds apart.
Yeah.
And it is how to deal with image perception. Like right there and then, I had, only now do I realize it, I had an image perception battle of two people.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
Yeah, no, and you're just proving what I was saying, because to me, the one that you just described, that's great because you're being authentic and real with you. But your passenger was saying, well, if I put on lipstick, it would be because I was trying to prove to impress somebody, right? So it's fascinating because I think we can all fall into both camps from time to time.
Well, no, I know putting on red lipstick gives me different energy from a nude color lipstick or something. I know that, but I also and I see that, but it's not red because I want to stand out like a harlot red, like because that's what red's known as. I just love red. I love red lipstick. I mean, I love red. My keyboard's red, my branding's red, my mouse pad is red, and it's like you with your purple.
That's right.
Like if you could get away with purple lipstick, I'm sure you would.
I've done it. I have done it before, yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've got purple lipstick, and that's exactly it. And it's not, it's just an interesting how to deal with image perception. And you mentioned tattoos before. Oh my gosh, that is a real, and I still battle with that. I remember, I think we might have talked about my dad. Did I talk about my dad and the boys at school? I didn't want to date me. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you did. I think maybe that was just in a conversation you and I had. I'm not sure that was recorded.
Yeah, I don't recall. Yeah. So my dad has a sleeve, tattooed sleeve, which is basically your tattoos on your arms, both arms, and he's covered in tattoos. And he had them from when he was in the army at, I don't know, 16, 17. And then I guess I don't even know when he stopped, but you can still see his skin. But the boys I had not consciously noticed it. And the boys at school, I heard them say, don't date Deborah because her dad's got tattoos. And it was actually high school, What a blessing they gave me. But I remember just thinking, and I had a go at them, and I said, my dad doesn't have tattoos. And they said, your dad's got them all on his arms. And I said, he has not got tattoos. And how can you judge somebody for that? And how can you not date me because of that? That's just a pathetic excuse. You're just pathetic boys. I remember this conversation. And I came storming home, and I said, and Mum was in the kitchen, and I can still remember saying to her, and I was angry that these boys had judged my father, judged me, didn't want to date me purely because my dad had tattoos, like, oh, for goodness sake, get a life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to Mum, the boys don't want to date me at school because I was in a very open family that I could say things like that. The boys don't want to date me at school because they said Dad's got tattoos all up his arm, and that's just, why would they even say that's an excuse? Because that's not even, and I was just, and Mum just laughed at me. She said, your father has. I went, no, he hasn't. And she looked at me, and I remember her actually touching me like, Deborah, your father has tattoos up his arms. And I was like, no, he doesn't. And as I'm saying that, I'm seeing my mum's face going, she's not going to be able to lie about this, because as soon as Dad gets home, I'm going to rip his shirts off and see his arms. And I could see, and I was like, no. And Dad came home, and I was mortified. And I was at high school, so that's anything from 12 to 16, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't understand how I'd never seen my dad's tattoos.
Because he was just your dad.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
and
he was just your dad.
I just saw Dad as Dad. I didn't see him as like
but isn't that funny? Because up until that point, you probably had no idea or thought process that tattoos were anything. They weren't,
that they were bad.
They were bad, or that they created, had some kind of meaning to them, right?
Yeah. Well, I did. Well, and then I was mortified. That how blind I am to not seeing Dad for all of Dad.
Mm.
And I only saw Dad as Dad. I didn't see Dad as Dad, the tattooed Dad. And then I was left with, so it actually really knocked me, because then I was left with, oh my gosh, I've missed out of who Dad is. So then I inquired about all the tattoos till Dad was just driven absolutely nuts, because then I went, well, I need to know Dad more. And I think Dad was just like done with me. So what does that mean? How old were you when you got that? And I remember Dad just thinking how I could see him. But then I was like, okay, at the end of the day, you're actually still Dad.
Yeah, because I was just going to say that. Yeah, because I was just going to say that. To me, my impression of that is that that's awesome. That you accepted the whole person, so much so that it was not any label other than Dad.
Yeah.
I think that's really healthy.
Well, you can open a can of worms and go down the skin color.
Yeah.
And this is just, and I'm going to tell you a story. It was very amusing. My daughter is very blonde, very blue-eyed, very white, like pale skin. And her best friend at school was African-American. So Sophie had long blonde hair, and her best friend, whose name was Sophie's middle name as well, which is just cute. And she was African-American and had crazy, wild, frizzy,
awesome,
dark hair. And I loved her. She was super cute and had her own personality. Grace was her name, is her name, not was her name. She's still Grace. And people would look at them and they would say, and like I had a lady when we went out one day, she said, oh, how can your daughter be friends with her?
Oh, for goodness sake.
And I was left with, how can she not? And I then went, what's wrong with her? Like instantly I went, what's wrong with Grace and Sophie? And then I registered, oh my God, they're two different looking children. And I wish I had reacted differently. I wish I had have slammed her verbally a lot. Yeah. Because that's not cool, because then she put her story onto me. Yeah. But I was left with, and I was left with, well, their best friend. Look at them play. They don't know any different. And they shouldn't.
And why should they? Why should they?
Yeah, so how to deal with image perception, I've come back in my mind and I thought of a million things I could have said to her that would have stripped her of any dignity.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my comment is why couldn't they was pretty grand as it was, because for me I was really perplexed, and coming from the heart, not being an a-hole trying to strip her of anything, was just like that. But the image perception is so big. There's color, there's hair color, there's what you wear, there's nail color, there's long nails,
how you speak,
shoulders down, shoulders back. You can definitely read someone about what they look like. And what do they say? They say it takes 3 seconds to leave an impression, and a lot longer to actually change that perception. And that's exactly it, because if you come in and your shoulders are down, like you talked about your height, if your shoulders are down and you've got no color, I'm definitely already going to have an image of you. I'm going to go, oh gosh, wonder what's happened in her world that her shoulders are slumped over.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in my own evolution of me, I have grown through the caring so much about what other people's perception is, how my image was being perceived, to now I'm to the point where anybody else's perception of me is none of my business. And even like that woman that you're saying in your story with Sophie and her friend, and P.S. my youngest sister's name is Grace too. I love that name. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's funny. Oh, of course that is another link. Yeah. Okay.
I just thought that was cute. But like I said, is that her reaction is kind of like, okay, it's none of my business. It's none of my concern. It's sad to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting how we have our stories and how we can pass our stories on to others, and then they can attach to them or not. I mean, I just get, if anything, I get more confused. Like, how do you think like that? All my friends and family laugh at me because they say Deborah lives in her bubble. I do live in my own little bubble, and my bubble's just lovely. Right. Definitely there's challenges in that bubble. I don't live in a false security bubble. But, I do, when people say certain things like that, I go, how would you think differently? Like we talk about the parking ferry, I have a parking ferry. Like, how do you not have a parking ferry? I get more confused how people live in their world, if anything. And I guess that's why I do what I do, being a stressologist, so I can unpack those thought patterns that we've held on to for so long. But image perception, is such a large role we play in everything. And I talk about, even starting a business, getting a website. Like, that website has to be 101% perfect with all your proper photos and all your proper words until it goes out there. But for goodness sake, how often do people look at your bloody website? They pick up the phone, or they meet you in person. They don't need to go to your website and check out what you do and how you do it, because they've already met you. They've already got an image perception of you, verbally, mentally, physically, before they even need to make decisions of whether they want to investigate you.
Yeah, and so that's a really good example of getting way too caught up in this image, the image perception. It's like if you're in business and you want to just put up one page with your picture on it and your business name and your contact details, that's all you need. And by all means, keep tweaking it and improving it as you go along, but don't let that be the stumbling block to say, oh, I can't get out there because, what would people think if they saw this half-assed effort, or it's not got all the beautiful things all exactly in place. Because sometimes this idea of the image perception freezes us, gets us stuck, and we don't act on what is it that we're called upon to do, to share, to be of service to others. Because that's the key piece in the work that I do. There's two main threads that keep weaving in and out of all the work that I do. Is number one, helping people realize that yes, they have a soul purpose, and yes, they're living it. And I help them actually start to see it and quantify it. But then the other part too is helping them get unstuck or let go of what you're just talking about that propensity to be perfectionist or judge themselves based upon what they think other people think.
That story.
Yeah, it's all story. Is this story you're telling yourself, is it the truth? Oftentimes it's not.
I was just going to say, and we all know those stories are holding on to something. But yeah, it's really, it's funny because we've experienced Christmas, and I don't know if you do it, but Christmas I overeat. I'm fully aware of that. I overeat and I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So once I overeat, I deal with it. But what happened is someone said to me the other day, oh, you don't look like you've put on weight. And I said, oh, thank you. Not everyone puts on weight over Christmas. And they said, how have you done it? I said, oh, I bought 3 dresses, another size up. And she just leaned forward and said, what? I said, oh, I bought 3 dresses, another size up. And she went, is that how you deal with overweight? I said, well, you said you didn't think I'd put on weight. And she said, no, you don't look like you have. I said, no, that's exactly it. So I probably have. Things were getting a little bit tighter. So I bought these 3 cute little dresses, and that's what I live in now. And she couldn't believe it. Like, how do you deal with it? I'm like, and she just was completely blown away, because I don't want to be coming into January going, oh my God, I've eaten so much and now all my clothes are tight and I don't feel comfortable and everything. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Like, no. Just I bought some cheap dresses and I love them. I love them, and they're flowy and they're just divine and they hug my beautiful new curves. And when I'm ready, I'll go back to my other stuff. But if not, I've found a beautiful supplier who does these beautiful dresses. But she was completely like, how do you do it? And I just told her, and she just was blown away with that. And it's really interesting. I think if I'm not in touch with myself and not certain of who I am, mm-hmm. those stories can be so quickly attached to me and can spiral me.
Well, because it's the judgment, right? Because even if you got to yourself to a place of this is my way of dealing with it, and then somebody goes, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Then there might be a little piece of a pleaser that goes, oh, I did something wrong.
Like, yeah, I did. Well, all I kept thinking about is I guarantee she's going to go out and buy a couple of new tops.
I bet.
And I also guarantee if anyone around her says they've put on weight, she can go, I know this woman, and all she did was do, without saying that's a wonderful idea or not, she go, I know this woman and this is what she did. Mm-hmm. So then she's planted my seed into someone else, and I know it's going to be a ripple effect, but good or bad, I don't really care. It's just an idea.
But do you know what? The undercurrent of that idea is you deserve to be comfortable. That's it. That's it. That's all you just did. I deserve to be comfortable. And if that means having something that I can get that's a bit bigger sized, that's okay. Why not?
Well, if I keep eating, I'm definitely going to grow into it. I can see more of it. And they're wrap dresses, so I can go another 3
even
sizes
better.
Up. And this will be great. But at the moment, I can wrap it and I can tuck it over, so I know it's even oversized. And when I'm done with it, I'll share it with somebody else. Or but it's the interesting how to handle what people say to us.
Exactly. I find it's sometimes gobsmacking to me. There's my term of the day.
Yeah.
Gobsmacking.
Yeah.
The audacity of some people to say certain things. It's like, this person had no right to put any kind of judgment on you for what you did. It's like, okay.
Well, I don't even think, like, this person, I don't even think is that type to do that. Like, I think they were just like, wow, is that what, like, I've never thought of that. And like, right. that's like, gosh, how do you deal with overeating? Because you don't look like you've put on weight. Like, even just that you don't look like you put, because I think we all know we all put on weight over Christmas. If But you either, like during lockdown, like for 2020, there was lockdown. People said, oh my God, I put on more weight. And there's a lot of people who said they didn't because you could mandatory exercise in our country. So people went and exercised more. So they actually lost weight during lockdown instead of being home eating all the time.
Right.
You know, and so then you've got that 50-50 of everything. But I just think she was just really blown away that I'm a strategist. I strategize, go, what can I do to fix that solution? I know what I'll do.
Yep.
You know,
Brilliant.
I
Good
think
for
so.
you. Good for you. Well, dear listeners and dear Deb, I hope our conversation has helped people kind of have a look, have a wee check-in, have a wee inner dialogue. Are you feeling comfortable, confident, good with your image? Are you making sure that there's time?
Are you subordinating to someone else?
Yeah, listening to other people's judgment is never going to help you navigate and find your beautiful sparkle of energy within you. So all that being said, we checked in. I think you were a 0 and a 1, and I was a 0 and a 3 at our beginning, right?
You were 3?
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, you were a 3. I'm a 0-0. 0-0.
I'm actually a 0-0-2. I think for me, it's just having a little acknowledgement to that space of judgment. I get saddened when I see other people's judgment because it doesn't serve them or us.
And that's why you do what you do, to help people's self-esteem, help them, take them out of that, take them out of the 10 to take them to a 0 in their daily life. And that's why we both do what we do, because
exactly it.
You know, because of life. And it's
Yep, that's what we're here. We're following our calling. So that's awesome. Both of us got down to a 0-0. This has been a fun. I think we may want to come back and do a part 2 on this one.
I think this is definitely a part 2, because I would love to go down the tattoo angle.
Yeah, we never we commented on that. We'll come back for a part 2.
I think we'll do a part 2 on this one. So thank you, listeners, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, dear listeners. Thanks, Debz. This has been fun.
Yay.
We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.